Hey, welcome back to the channel. S.E.E and Trucker Rod here. And get over here to the comment section. I am at a hotel, as you can see in the background. I may have too much lighting, so let me see here. Dim it down. I don't know which one. It's that one. There we go. Bring this one down. All right. Just wanted to make sure I had adequate lighting. How's that looking, Miss Laura? Sound good? Lighting good? We'll check in the chat. Wouldn't you know it? Everything is got to be. I just shut down and logged off at 6 p.m. Tossed everything in the hotel room and jumped in the shower at quarter after while the computer was booting up and all that. So we have been just on the hustle here. And anyhow, why? Hey, Laura, can you comment in the chat? Is everything good to go? Sound, lighting, picture? So, last week, when did I do a live? Last Monday night. Tuesday, I went up into McDowell County. I went up in the Appalachians there, north of Bluefield. So, a lot of mucky roads. I don't know what happened, but I came down, went over. I actually got another stop off at 4:45. I went over to the Petro in Glad Spring, Virginia, and shut down for the night. Truck was fine. Started up in the morning to warm it up while I, went and got a shower and all that. And it had red lights on the dash, and it was in Derate, 1,000 RPM limit and a 5 mile an hour limit. So held off taking a shower. That was at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I was on the phone with Ryder, and by 5:30, they were looking for a truck. It took them over an hour to find a truck, whether sleeper or day cab, and we by 7:30 they had located one. So they sent the record to go get it, bring it to me, which was just after 11 a.m., 11:30, and then they took my truck over to the Ryder shop outside of Bristol, Tennessee. And right now, I haven't heard any updates other than I checked in today around 12:30. Truck was in the shop, but no status of progress or anything. That was kind of frustrating for my part. I'm just checking something here. I haven't seen Miss Laura in the chat. I just want to make sure if anyone's in here, comment and let me know we are good to go. We're up and down, sideways and diagonally. Welcome. Hey, Laura, can you hear me good? And is the picture good? I see you in there now. So, let's see. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, anywho, I didn't have much of the route left. What did I have? 4 stops left? Yeah, something like that. Four or 5 stops. So I knew I'd be done. I should have been back Thursday morning. End up getting back Thursday night to the yard. 6.5 hours I was in the truck stop. Now, granted, I was in the truck stop, so thank goodness for that. I didn't, derate and being out on the highway and then spend 6.5 hours on the side of the road. So that was good. So truck was scheduled already Thursday. When I got back in the morning, I was dropping the truck off after I put my wagon in the dock and get it down for a PM. So we're trying to get them to do a PM, all kind of filter changes, Now, the mechanic that came out used to work at that rider shop that it went to. So he pointed out that not only did I know that, it needed a new front steer, the steer tires needed to be replaced, but the air filter looked pretty clogged up. The fuel water separator was dated 2023. And one of the airlines, he didn't like the looks of it. It looked like it was up against the frame rail, which it shouldn't be. So he was going to let the rider shop know. He used to work at that rider shop for 5 years, and it was like hour and 10, hour and 15-minute drive one way there from his house out of Virginia over to Tennessee. Petro offered him a decent deal, and it only put him 20 minutes from the house. So it just made sense because a little bit of difference in the pay was making up for his commute to work. But he knew all the guys there, so he was on the phone while his service truck was sitting next to me out in the parking lot. He called over there and gave him the rundown. So I'm going to probably follow up tomorrow if I don't get answers from my home terminal shop. So the shits and giggles and the kicker is, I have a rental, a loaner truck when mine's been down. That is, they brought me out a day cab. It's all they could find within a 100-mile radius. They couldn't find a sleeper truck without me spending another day in the truck stop and waiting until the next morning to get something delivered. Therefore, they brought a day cab, end up being a city day cab. And I'll do a walk around with it, put it in a short video. I don't have no pictures of it right now. I didn't have time out there, and I was just trying to get into the hotel, checked in tonight. Otherwise, I'd have tried to throw a pic up here of it. But it's a 2019 Cascadia day cab, 13-liter Detroit automatic. I didn't know, but I drove 2.5, almost 3 hours to my first stop after I got the truck. Rolled up to my stop after it got delivered, and mine got picked up last week. And I was already down to half a tank, and I'm like, why am I burning through fuel? Or is the gauge is just wonky? So when I got up to another stop up in Lexington about an hour before they closed, I got there, kicked some product off. Then I ran over to the rider terminal and said, you know what, I'll top this thing off. Maybe they didn't top it off all the way, and the thing moves quick on the first half of the gauge. So I get to the rider shop, and the second shift fuel guy, he also does auto detailing on the side. So he and I share some trade stuff. And I said, hey, Eddie, top these things off. I don't know what it was. I said, I think the gauge is wonky in there. They probably didn't top it all the way. He dropped fuel on the driver's side, walks around, comes back giggling. He goes, yeah, you're only going to need to fuel up on one side. This is a city truck. They brought a city truck out for an over-the-road route, and it only has one fuel tank. So now I'm fueling up nearly twice a day. Lackluster of, getting by in the mountains with fuel. Now that I got a lot of my stops off today, I am 2/3 empty, so it should slow down the pain of guzzling up fuel. I stopped in Charleston, then I stopped in Roanoke at the rider shops, topped off today, and then I stopped at the Loves in Zanesville, Ohio yesterday to top off. And a 100-gallon tank, I got 501 miles on 62 gallons. So I kind of know that somewhere around 5.25 is about all I'm going to get. I don't want to push it. I don't know the limitations, and I don't plan on being in this truck very long. Otherwise, it runs good in that, but it's just not made for what I'm doing for the long hauls, because I'm doing 2,500 or more a week. So that was kind of a kick in the nuts. Any more than when they brought me when the transmission went out in my truck between Zanesville and Cambridge, Ohio, there on I-70 for an automatic. The clutch pack went out 2 summers ago, so summer of 24, August of 24, right after I just got it back. that weekend before I went out from a 3-axle alignment. They had called to ask me how the steering was, and I said, I don't know. I said, transmission's out of it. So I got a rotator picking me out of the side of the road because I went up the off ramp at Cambridge, and it wouldn't climb up it, and it was just rust, dust, and everything from the clutch just eating itself up. So I let it just, as I had it going forward, it was rolling backwards. So I kind of just dipped it in the grass, get out of the path of traffic exiting off the highway. So I had a rotator come out and just level me up and pull the truck. They had a tractor come out, pull the trailer, went back over to the rider shop in Zanesville, and then they record down from Akron, Ohio, a sleeper truck. It was so nasty. It looked like someone puked in it, threw a trash can through it. It came with bald tires on the drives. All the airlines were cracked and laying on the catwalk. And the new spring for them was laying in the sleeper. Most all the buttons were busted, missing on the dash. I mean, it was an international LT. It was just so beat the shit up, and it had no AC. So, and it ended up being that worst heat index for the summer of 2024. At least I know I've had it worse. This truck is just, if it would have had two 100-gallon tanks, it's like, I don't care if it's a city truck, just put dual tanks on it. It'd make the resale better. But Ryder does some of the dumbest fucking wonky things I've ever seen. And the bottom line is their corporate offices are in Miami, and all those knuckleheads down there, whatever makes them a fucking profit so they can, make their yacht payments. That's about the way I see it. Every single one of their damn trucks, even this truck, my sleeper truck, and I've announced to you guys that my wife and I are going to be running this year out and then moving to Arizona, and I'm going to go into a different trade and work on more of our home-based businesses. But I told her the only way I would get out on the road is a Pete or Kenworth hooded truck with a Caterpillar, so it'd be an old school truck. I don't care. I don't want this new technology. There's people that just love it. They need their 8-cup holders for their freaking lattes, and they need the computer to tell them when to wipe their ass, blow their nose, and shut the door. And it's just, that's not for me. And I would rather, if I was going to be trucking and to really enjoy it still, you gotta erase the IT out of it. And I would do RGN or over dimensional. I would not touch another box trailer like reefer or dry van. So, but as it's been said, I'm just counting down and moving on. But yeah, so with the day cab, I've been hoteling it. I stayed at a nice hotel when was it, Lord? Wednesday night in Lexington. I pretty much know all the hotels on that side. I'm having to acclimate to the hotels over here because I've been in the sleeper truck when we expanded the route over here on the side of the 77 here in the Appalachians. So I picked this one. This one's actually, Laura, on the other side of the highway. I'm right at the same exit as the Petro. The Petro made national news over here during the snowstorms because they would not plow the parking lot, and all the trucks were stuck wonky and crisscross. And there's a lot of YouTube videos. Everyone's stuck out in the parking lot. People were coming out with their 4-wheel drive dualies, just getting guys pulled out of there and charging them. But yeah, I looked over and they still got about 2-3 foot tall snow banks there all around the parking lot when I was looking over when I was exiting off. But truck stop was nice. They had truck parking, easy access. That's what I looked for back in the day. Was I knew all the hotels in my region when I ran my day cab, and who all had truck parking, who didn't. But now it's like I'm more acclimated to where I can park the sleeper truck. I'll be glad to have it back because I have to take that little trolley on wheels out to the truck and drag all my shit in because I've got my my 110 12-volt refrigerator, and it's a refrigerator, not one of those coolers you buy at Love's. It's one of those RV with a compressor in it and all that. You can drop it down to 0 degrees. So I have been dragging that in and out of the hotel. Um, so I got to make dinner tonight yet before I get to bed. But yeah, the day cab's all right, but one fuel tank for a city truck, and I'm just like, come on, guys. And I'd like them to say, "Hey, do you want to take a survey?" And I'd be like, "Absolutely, fucking not," because I wouldn't have anything positive to say. It's been very displeasurable, if I'd want to say that correctly. That make sure I'm in the screen here. So I'm just kicked back in the office chair here at the desk on this end of the room. Nice thing of it is we are still. Boss lady said, hey, our high end of getting a room per night is 150. I've been able to stay at all the hotel, or this is my third hotel since last week, since I got that day cab. They've all been running right around $100 a night. So usually I can get a one bed king, one bedroom, not a dual queen, but I can get a king bed suite. And this one has a balcony out here, but all you're going to look at is I-81 off the 205 exit. But this was $95 for the night. Last night, where did I stay at? Marietta, Ohio, and I stayed at the Comfort Inn there, and I think that one was around, I got the same type of room. And that one was like 112-ish, 120. And then the Holiday Inn in Lexington, that one was right around 110, 120. So reasonable compared to ours is melting nicely. Yeah, I know. I'm just fed up with the snow. I'm fed up with the cold and the salt. We're ready, but I'm glad you got these lights because they're working right now. So they're almost like lights on a mirror, like they're right here. With the magnets, the one sticking to the lamp pole on the desk, and the other one stuck to the coffee mug. Got it magnetized to that. But what else? Yeah, that's about it. So my route is really a lot of miles this week. So I'm gonna have to get fuel either in Winchester, up here at Winchester. Was it Virginia, West Virginia, Virginia, or Hagerstown? So I got to see which way I got to go to my next stop, which is out in eastern Kentucky, down along the Cumberland there. So I can either come up from the top side and down 23 from around Charleston, or come along through Bluefield and across the 460, the 460, take 64 over to Beckley, and then drop down and take the 460 out towards 23 and come up. So I don't know. It's a 6 one way and half a dozen another. So I'm just I got to calculate that, get something to eat. But yeah, it's just the ITs. This is like the second time on this truck I've had after treatment. Now, what it was is the codes came up, and it was the after treatment. It was the NOx gas sensor, and it kept reading variable rates. The rate is variable change, and then it threw the last code when he got there was open circuit. So somewhere along the line, there's a broken wire on the sensor, so they got to go track down, which usually means they're just going to change the whole wire harness on that. They had to do it before on another truck. This truck, they had taken the DEF tank off. They didn't put a new tank on, but they took it off, and they put all new sensors because the fuel gauge in it was bad, the doser sensor was bad, and something else was bad on it. There was like 3 things they had to do, and that was not. I wasn't down on the road. I ended up going on vacation to Texas when that happened. But This is the second time. And then, of course, the overhead wire harness for the injectors and the Jake solenoids was bad and intermittently cutting out, along with a bad Jake sensor. This truck's just had everything. The only thing it hasn't had is a because yeah, the belt was squealing, so I think they changed a pulley in the belt. But the radiator, engine overhaul, and an alternator, and I think we pretty much got our bases covered, other than blowing a differential out. But transmission's already puked itself. The damn thing's been in for twice for a 3-axle alignment. It's had the rear brakes replaced on the very rear axle. What else can I say? It's just been one damn thing after another, and I don't know. What I can stand back from a 30,000-foot view is pretty much see that these Cascadias and a lot of these tampon turds that they send down the road are basically just slapped together with probably a 2 out of 10 quality of fitment and finish and fitment. So not impressed. And in comparison, I ran from 89 to 93. I ran my hooded Mac 550,000 miles, pulling anywhere from 160 to 200,000 pound loads. And I'm trying to think. We took it in the shop for broken rear springs, and by the time it got to over 500,000 miles, we did an in-frame. Outside of that, it did a couple rear ends had broke. One was my neglect because I didn't lock the power divider in, and then the other one was a pinion bearing, output bearing from the front differential to the rear. But nothing like this at all. And in frames back then, because they were a mechanical engine, it was just like they could do it in like 2 days. It took you longer to drive it over there, drop it off, go back and run a day's worth of loads, and then go back and pick your truck up. But yeah, these trucks they're any more than household appliances. They're just throwaways, unreliable and throwaways. And it's taken, I want to say, trucking. Bob Murphy there. He is got the short videos. Him and his wife Deborah drive the purple Kenworth, and he was talking about when he started in 1990 at 18 years old. The old timers kind of showed him the ropes, but he said back then they didn't have to run 2 logbooks. They could stop for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And some guys would carry golf clubs because back then in the 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, these guys, they'd go out and they weren't pressured and run hard and do all that kind of jazz. They went out and they worked, but these guys, when they stopped to eat, they parked the truck, they went in, they sat down, they ate. It wasn't none of this just in time freight, not the broker and dispatcher. That's the one thing I bought Coyote Logistics when I had to pull some of their loads. They'd track my phone and they'd be calling all the time. I'm like, look, fucker, I'm sleeping. You fucking blow me up again, I'll come hunt you down. And it was just one of those. These brokerages are just horrible. The push, and they do this to all these foreigners. They reset their hours as they're going down the road from a remote area of like Pakistan or Ukraine or wherever it may be. Those are the 2 hot countries right now where they're, remotely running these companies, even though they're just using an apartment address here in the United States. But the non-domicile and the green cards, I think they just need to ban and just wipe them right off the slate, say they don't exist anymore. So those are the number 2, the IT in these trucks, foreign drivers, and rules and regulations, for the government to sit and babysit you, whether you got an inward facing camera, or you got all the GPS and tracking, or they just put more laws. You can't do this and can't do that, and I just like, not a fan favorite. So I think, people just let just let the markets, let people do what people need to do to make a living. Quit trying to micromanage everything as a government. Our government, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle, you want to think, but you can point fingers at this administration or the previous administration. It doesn't freaking matter. It's still going to roll into the same. Once a turd, always a turd. Polish the turd. It's a turd every 4 years. And this administration's not doing any better than the last. And so, yeah, like I said, that those are the three main reasons why I just despise trucking. And like I said, a lot of guys would say, well, the pay, the hours, the company, the respect and treatment. Well, that's something you need to make peace with. Um, like I said, I would know if I was to stay in trucking, I know where I would pivot to next, and I would pivot up, or get my own, older truck. I already know one person that I could get my own truck. They'd help with authority and do overdimensional. So if I wanted to do it. But the only way I would do that is if my wife was riding. I told her yesterday the only way I would stay out and drive is if she was with me at that point, and we'd get something like a bigger sleeper or studio sleeper, something. I'd get a hooded truck because I will not drive another one of these tampon torpedoes again. Say all these guys, oh, fuel mileage. You know what? The fuel mileage is great for hauling general freight. The hooded trucks are good if you're going to haul big boy stuff, and you need a bigger radiator. You need more surface area to keep the engine cool. Those Cascadias are not built to pull big cat equipment, mining equipment, agricultural equipment. They're just turds. They're good for hauling general freight, maybe flatbeds with general building supplies, but they're not good for heavy haul. And that would be the direction. Just that just seems like you're at the top of your game when you're doing that. Over dimensional or heavy haul, or even getting in with the DoD and hauling military equipment. But that would be the only way, and I would not go backwards. And but her and I have got big plans to reposition ourselves in a different region of the country, enjoy our latter years, because only time is marching forward, not backwards. And time is what I can't get back. And I want to enjoy the remaining years with good health, somewhere more pleasurable than 6-7 months or more of the hellscape of the white tundra in Michigan, and then the ungodly humidity up there. Well, the heat in Arizona, if you move there, you know what? There's no perfect spot in the world to live, because if there was, everyone would migrate there. So it works for us. It may not work for the rest, but I don't give a shit about having green grass, because if I don't have to cut grass, rake leaves, shovel snow, and just be able to come and go at my house and go and enjoy life outside of just making a few, scratch a few coins here and there. I don't need to go out and kill myself 100 hours a week to make it work. Once we get positioned there, it's definitely going to be a different mindset. So that's, each month is counting down. Next month, a few more things will be taking place. April and May will be the start of really getting busy and moving along and getting things hustling. Big thing is I got to replace windows and check and replace some broken siding and do some staining on the decks of the house. But I'll be glad when that crap's over, because I'm done with all that bullshit. I told her, I said, from that point on, the next house, just hire a contractor and let them drop everything in. tired of doing all this shit. This house was absolute dirt cheap when we bought it, and there's a reason why. Everything on it was absolutely annihilated. The roof, the HVAC, the hot water heater, windows, siding. What else? We have done everything to that house, her and I. And the only time we outsourced was the roofer and the HVAC. We outsourced. Everything else we did in house. And I'm not going to spend my waking days going forward working on another fucking house. So, but yeah, trucking's done good, and I'm using what I've done in the last 11, going on 12 years. Is this trucking is good to elevate yourself if you're in a bad financial position, if you're homeless or financially rock bottom, whether you're bankrupt, divorced, or just getting started in life. But keep in mind, you can make bank quickly right out of the gate. The first 30, 60, 90 days, you're making bank. Whereas many other people, especially those who get a college degree, have to go in, show their worth, prove themselves, and it takes them years to climb up that corporate ladder to make the money and say, well, I started at 50, now I'm making 70. 5 years later, we're in trucking, dude, you can make 80, 90, 100,000 plus a year. The sacrifice is you got to stay out on the road, and you got to keep hustling, you got to keep rolling the wheels and turning and burning, pulling loads. But you can pull yourself out of an emergency situation financially in an emergency situation. That's where we were at when I went back in it. It helped elevate us, and you can't do that with other jobs because you got to do your time and climb that ladder. And now with AI here, a lot of people that are going to college are just going to be walking into an empty space of no job opportunities with, a mountain of student loan debt. So it's blue collar, something to consider, electrician, plumber, HVAC. People got to install them. They're sure not fucking going to be having robots running around doing it. So, keep that in mind. I'll sit up in my chair and slide down. So, probably cut this short here. But trucking's treated us good. I've got no qualms with it. But I don't, I'm looking at 60 I'm going to be turning 60 this December. So the line in the sand last year was, do I go another 10 years to 70? And I looked at my wife and said, I'll be miserable. I won't even make 5 years. I'm just going to be downright miserable because it's time to move on and enjoy our lives and position ourselves where we want to do our final resting place of retire. I want to say retirement, but a lot of people always talk about when they retire, I'm going to go here and live. I'm going to go visit here. I'm going to snowbird there. And their health gets in the way and they never see a lot of their dreams or bucket list ever get fulfilled. And that's what we're going after. We're going after, we're just checking off all the boxes and saying, you know what, we're going to position ourselves too that the house will not push us out. So because with the subpar healthcare in this country, that is just total ass and crap. Not only is she taking on a good role with functional medicine, but also we're positioning ourselves with a house that will not force us out, that we can grow old into, and it'll have all the accommodations of ADA and all that stuff. So, because I told my kids it'd be a cold day in hell, I said, I got an exit strategy, but it won't be in no hospice or nursing home because I will not play nice. So I'm not a fan of the modern day healthcare and the way it is. The government got themselves involved with it, with the Obamacare and all this jazz, and then health insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. dictating to the hospitals, how medicine should be practiced. It's just, it's not a healthy, it's not healthy. And you should look at alternative medicines like, go back to the traditional holistic medicine, naturopathic, whatever you want to call it. But that's the way to go. And you need to apply yourself, educate yourself, and understand what they're trying to do to us and what we should be back on track. We should be following the path that everyone did 100 years ago, and quit buying into the corporations. They want you to go to their health care, buy their health insurance, buy their pharmaceuticals, go to their grocery stores, go to their lumber yards, your Home Depots and Lowe's. That's the American corporations dictating to you, and they showed that right through COVID. You mom and pop can't be open, but these big boys can, because, well, they paid the government, and, they rule the world. So just look around at a 30,000-foot view of what's really going on in America, and it's not healthy. It is absolutely unhealthy. And supporting the United States government is definitely not healthy. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, you need to definitely take a stance as an individual, do your own critical thinking, do your own research. So, but yep, I should know more. Hopefully, in 24 hours, I should know if I'm picking my truck up this week or going to wait another week, because I'd like to get rid of this day cab. I'm just tired of chasing down fuel stations about every 500 miles, because there's days I'm rolling. 2 weeks ago, I rolled. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was that day, Laura. I took off from the Loves down there south of Jackson, Ohio, went up to the yard, and that's the day the lights were out on the trailer. They had to reload a trailer. Then I went back to Ohio. I ran 11 hard hours of driving, and I got 695 miles in on my e-log. That's the second most I've gotten. The most I've ever gotten on the e-log was 714. So that was just straight driving that day. But that was that 2 weeks I was out just running hard. And this week's route's not bad, but it's definitely got miles. And the problem is I'm putting miles in this week on a truck with one fuel tank. So it's really snipping me in the nuts right now. So I got to keep an eye on that. The nice thing of it is it does have a counter on there and how many gallons of fuel. The old style Freightliners like that have on the dash just a small rectangle um, uh, dash display, and it has how many miles I put on, because I can reset it, and how many gallons on that trip. I don't believe my sleeper truck has that. But then I can get anywhere from 13 to 1,500 miles on before I got to fuel up on the sleeper truck. And I'm like having to fuel up 2.5 times, almost 3 times that many with this one. And so look forward to getting that back, moving forward with stuff. And yep, in the hotels. And if I got time, I'll see how tomorrow night goes. If I get diverted to getting that truck this week, I'll probably go. I'll probably do another video this week on that. Kind of get the rundown of what they found and what they what it came down to, and whether they can get the PM done in Bristol, so I don't have to turn around, pick the truck up, go back to Grand Rapids, Michigan, just to schedule it in for a PM. And I said, come on, guys, I don't have time for all this nonsense. It's whether it's at that rider shop or that rider shop, just let them get it done. It's in your ecosystem, and let's just get it, tuned up, fixed up, so I can get out and make money. I can't be jockeying around, especially with this truck. We have to limit myself in this truck because it's just not feasibly working out. So I made it clear to him last Friday when I was home, and whether it resonates or not is left to be seen. So anyhow, I'm gonna cut this short. I got to make something to eat, and I got to be up. What is it? It is 7:10, so I got to be up at 3 a.m. because my restart time is 4 a.m. So by the time I shower, and then I got to lug everything out to the truck. So either I'll get up at 3 or 3:15, but the big pain in the ass is I got to lug that little trolley thing up, and I got to pick one that doesn't have squeaky wheels, and one I had squeaky wheels, so I got to make sure I don't come up that early in the morning and piss everyone off. So I am so looking forward to being back in my truck and not in hotel rooms. A lot of folks would probably like being in hotel rooms. I don't. It's just it's a pain in the ass because you got to find the right hotel for truck parking, and then God knows that most of these are ran by Indians, and they're so dingy, dirty. And even the Holiday Inns. Sorry, I can't go to the Hilton because the Hiltons are a little more upscale, and they don't want dirty truck drivers with their dirty trucks parked next to the building. And these places, I'll tell you, if you're going to get a respiratory infection or the flu or any bacteria, these places are not cleanly whatsoever. Uh, Spiders, cockroaches. A lot of our drivers have, sent pics in and said, this is getting to be ridiculous. So I've stayed pretty healthy staying in my truck, and I'm looking forward to it, getting back in it. So, but I appreciate y'all watching and dropping in, and we get the truck back this week. We'll try to shoot another video because I'm gonna be out at least till Thursday. So we'll see what comes of the week, and appreciate y'all dropping in and being a subscriber to the channel. And if you're not, if you could subscribe to the channel, and like I said, also our sister channel, RK Auto Detailing. If you could subscribe to that channel, as we're trying to grow that over 50 subscribers. And yes, we will probably continue doing some kind of detailing when we get out into another area of the United States. But in the meantime, we are still advertising doing auto detailing. So that all said, folks, be good, be safe, continue educating. Knowledge is learned, not taught. And we will see you all in the next video.